In Germany, polls closed in the early federal elections, with polls showing opposition conservatives, the Christian Democratic Union, ahead, followed by the far-right AFD party. In Lebanon, tens of thousands of people attended the funeral of Hezbollah's former leader Hassan Nasrallah. And in Venezuela, citizens commemorate the 6th anniversary of the Battle of the Bridges. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Germany, polls closed in the early federal elections and the first results are out. Exit polls show Germany's opposition conservatives, the Christian Democratic Union, ahead in the national election, putting leader Friedrich Merz on track to be the next chancellor, with the far-right Alternative for Germany in second, its best ever result. In addition, the exit poll showed in third place the Social Democratic Party, led by the current Chancellor Olaf Scholz, with 16% of the ballots. Germany's election authority reported an over 80% turnout. And Vatican authorities reported on Sunday, February 23rd, that Pope Francis has had a peaceful night and has been able to rest. The Vatican press office indicated that from Saturday to Sunday, the Pope has remained calm and has been able to rest at the Gemelli University Hospital located in Rome, Italy. Previously, the Vatican has reportedly stressed that the Supreme Pontiff is in critical condition due to a prolonged asthmatic respiratory crisis that has required the administration of high-flow oxygen and the supply of blood transfusions. For the moment, the Pope remains conscious, with his prognosis completely reserved, and he is not out of danger. And Russian Vice Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov informed that the first meeting of Russian and U.S. experts to normalize relations will be held in the next 2 weeks in a third country. The diplomat also said that the meeting of the directors of the corresponding departments will precede the meeting of deputy foreign ministers of the two nations. Ryabkov emphasized that Moscow confirmed its intention to start working as soon as possible to eliminate annoyances in bilateral relations. Both countries agreed to create a favorable climate for the full resumption of bilateral cooperation in various fields of common interest. And Russian President Vladimir Putin laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier as the country observed the Day of the Defender of the Homeland. The soldiers of the Honor Guard laid a rose wreath at the monument located outside the Kremlin wall in Moscow. Also attending the ceremony were the Minister of Defense and decorated soldiers who paid tribute to fallen Russian heroes. President Putin exalted Russian Army and Navy soldiers for keeping their homeland safe. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that air defense forces shot down at least 20 Ukrainian drones in 6 provinces. The ministry detailed that the largest number of drones were shot down in Oryol, Belgorod, and Kursk. During the attacks, the civilian population was forced to seek shelter and flee crowded areas. Russian provinces bordering Ukraine regularly report attacks on citizens by the Kiev regime in the framework of the special operation that Russia has been conducting since 2022 in Ukraine to defend civilians. And in Botswana, sustained heavy rains and floods have left at least 7 people dead and over 1,000 displaced. Authorities report that among the dead, there were 3 minors and that some 1,700 people have been evacuated from affected areas. In the capital, Gaborone, floodwaters washed away cars and belongings. After more than a week of downpours, schools have been declared temporarily closed and access to some roads and dangerous areas has been blocked. Meanwhile, rescue teams continue to work to tend to the emergency and cope with the rain. Meanwhile, in Guatemala, the National Institute of Seismology, Volcanology, Meteorology, and Hydrology is on alert due to increased activity of the Santiaguito volcano. Meteorological authorities warn that part of the accumulated material could collapse and generate gas mixtures, and that long-range volcanic material may be expelled to the southwest, south, and southeast of the country. For this reason, they urge people to abstain from climbing the volcano or even approaching it within a radius of less than 20 kilometers. The authorities are warning about a risk of eruption, for this is a risk danger Category 5 volcano. We now have a first short break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Lebanon, tens of thousands of people attended the funeral of Hezbollah's former leader, Hassan Nasrallah. Nasrallah, the group's leader for more than 30 years and one of its founders, was killed in September 2024 in an Israeli airstrike. Many men, women, and children from Lebanon and beyond welcomed food to reach the site of the ceremony. Mourners also paid homage to Hashem Safieddin, Nasrallah's chosen successor, killed in another Israeli air raid before he could assume the post. The two had temporarily been buried in secret locations. Over 800 personalities from 65 countries attended the funeral, in addition to thousands of individuals and activists from around the world. Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem said Islamic leader Syed Hassan Nasrallah dedicated his life to the struggle for freedom.
We bid farewell to an exceptional, extraordinary historical leader. Today, we bid farewell to an Arab Muslim nationalist leader who represents the freemen of the world.
Moreover, Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem exalted the work of Syed Hassan Nasrallah in unifying the struggle of the Lebanese people and creating the resistance movement.
This man, beloved to us, led the resistance. He led the nation. We no longer make a distinction between the resistance and the nation. It is one heart, one soul. Together we fight, we listen, we work. Guided by his instructions and advice.
Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem said they will continue their struggle to free all the people kidnapped by the Zionist forces.
We tell you that we will not abandon you to the hand of the Zionists. To all those who have been kidnapped, we will set you free. We will do everything in our power to set you free.
Israel suspended the release of 602 Palestinian prisoners scheduled for Saturday, February 22nd, in violation of the ceasefire agreement between the Palestinian resistance movement, Hamas, and the Israeli regime. Under the agreement between Hamas and Israel, the Zionist regime was to release at least 602 Palestinian prisoners after the release of 6 Israeli hostages in the Gaza Strip as part of the 7th round of prisoner exchanges. In a statement, Hamas declared that Netanyahu is playing dirty games to sabotage the Gaza ceasefire agreement. In this regard, the Palestinian resistance movement called on the mediators and guarantors of the agreement to exert pressure on the Zionist entity so that the agreement is respected. Israeli forces continue their aggression against the West Bank, killing at least 27 civilians and injuring dozens more. Palestinian authorities reported that the Israeli occupation deployed tanks around the city of Jenin, the first time since the 2002 offensive in the region. They also denounced that the Tel Aviv forces are preparing for a lengthy offensive against refugee camps after suspending the operations of the United Nations Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Middle East. Since the beginning of the Israeli offensive against the West Bank, which is now in its 34th day, some 40,000 Palestinians have been displaced from their homes. And in Israel, thousands of people demonstrated Saturday in the streets of Tel Aviv for the weekly protests demanding the immediate release of the hostages held in the Gaza Strip. 1 week away from the end of the first phase of the ceasefire in the Palestinian enclave, the Israelis in Tel Aviv demanded the government of the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to speed up the return process of the more than 60 hostages that are held by Hamas and to stop interfering with the ceasefire agreement. The last hostage exchange took place last Thursday. Hamas released 6 Israeli, while the Zionist entity failed to comply with their part of the exchange and did not release over 600 Palestinians.
We have a criminal prime minister who his only goal is to try to survive politically, and he is sacrificing Israeli citizens who are now in Gaza. And instead of doing stopping the war and signing an agreement which will stop the war and the bloodshed and bring all the hostages back, he's willing to continue the war, to continue the killing.
We now have a second break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Found your break? Don't go away. Welcome back. This Sunday, Venezuela commemorates the 6th anniversary of the Battle of the Bridges, a date that recalls the heroism of the Venezuelan people who, together with the armed forces, thwarted the attempts of foreign destabilization. Minister of the Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, led the main ceremony, who from the border city of Ureña in the state of Táchira recalled the strength of the people in defending national sovereignty. Cabello pointed out that the failed coup attempts by the far right are supported by Western countries. During the event, Diosdado Cabello assured that the Battle of the Bridges prevented the development of a plan to turn the Colombian-Venezuelan border into a safe haven for drug trafficking.
¿Cuál era el objetivo de ellos?
What was their objective? To cross the border, to settle on this side. Narnia, it was going to stop being called Ureña, San Antonio. It was going to start being called Narnia. And the president of Narnia was going to want to rule from here. And from here, they were going to request from Narnia the invasion of Venezuela entering through Colombia. In exchange for what? In exchange for opening the doors of Venezuela to drug trafficking. Because that was the agreement that Juan Guaido had with Uribe and Duque. That Venezuela would be a haven for drug trafficking.
And U.S. Special Envoy Richard Grenell assured that Donald Trump's administration rules out making any changes in the government of Venezuela. During an interview, the official recalled that he held a meeting with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in the month of January. He also emphasized that the Trump administration has a posture of dialogue, respect, and understanding. The meeting between the diplomat and President Maduro in January reaffirmed the policy of the Bolivarian diplomacy of peace, guaranteeing a democratic model of cooperation and dialogue with the nations and peoples.
Look, we're very clear-eyed about the Venezuelan government and Maduro, but Donald Trump is somebody who doesn't want to do regime change. And he is somebody who wants to do everything that we can to make the American people stronger, more prosperous. And so that's what we're focused on right now.
And in Peru, doctors protested in front of Congress against a law that allows dentists to perform medical acts, warning that it puts public health at risk and demanding an annulment. The Peruvian Medical Association emphasized that only a physician can determine whether a procedure is necessary. This regulation ignores that principle and endangers public health. However, surgeons and dentists defend the recent changes in the health system, pointing out that they recognize their work and will generate opportunities for them. Congress is facing pressure from both the Medical Association and the dentist and surgeon sectors. In Peru, 8 people have died when the roof of a shopping mall collapsed in the city of Trujillo, north of the country. Authorities say at least 82 people were injured, with 4 of them still buried under the rubble. Rescue and police teams continue to carry out rescue work in the shopping center. The Peruvian government has ordered to open an investigation to punish those responsible, and they have declared a regional mourning say for this Sunday, February 23rd. And in Colombia, President Gustavo Petro called more than 4,000 farmers to a large mobilization to defend the agrarian reform and their rights to land and a dignified life. Pedro called on agrarian representatives to mobilize to defend social conquest and vindicate the work of the farmers. During the ceremony, the new Chicoral Pact was signed, which is considered a roadmap to promote agrarian reform, guarantee rural well-being, and contribute to peace with social justice. Previously, on February 14th and the 15th, some 6,000 representatives of farmers, indigenous, and Afro-descendant communities formed municipal committees to strengthen farmers' popular organization and those participate in the land distribution process. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.